Okay, so today we're diving into the world of leatherworking,
Oh, yeah.
but not the kind you're probably picturing. When
Right?
you think, like, leatherworking,
Yeah.
we're talking about the unsung heroes here,
Okay.
the ones who make sure that leather is top-notch even before it hits the factory floor.
Yeah, these are the folks that without them there is no leather goods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those goods are everywhere.
Yeah.
So we're talking about hide graders.
Yes.
And I got to
Type of the
say,
catcher.
RoleCatcher,
Yeah.
this career platform that we've been going through,
Right.
they call hide graders the backbone of the leather industry.
Yeah.
And honestly, looking at this, I'm starting to see why.
Yeah.
So walk me through this.
Hmm.
What exactly does a hide grader do all day?
So imagine this. You've got a mountain of animal hides,
Okay.
right? Each one is unique, like a fingerprint.
Okay.
A hide grader is a quality control expert
Okay.
who examines each hide,
Wow.
assessing its weight, its thickness, its natural qualities, and
Wait, hold on. Natural qualities. What do we even mean by that?
so leather, right, it comes from an animal.
Yeah.
It's got its own grain. It's got its own kind of feel to it.
Yep.
And you know some hides are going to be softer, some are going to be more durable,
Yeah.
and that's all part of those natural qualities that they're looking at.
So it's not just like, oh, is it cowhide? Is it sheepskin? It's like within that,
Totally.
there are variations.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? They're also looking at imperfections, too.
Imperfections, you mean like scars, bug bites, that kind of thing?
You got it. And believe it or not, those can actually add character to the leather.
Really?
Yeah. A skilled hide grader, they know which imperfections are going to make that hide even more valuable
Huh.
and which ones might cause problems later on down the line.
So it's not just about tossing out the bad hides.
Not at all. A huge part of their job is grading. They sort these hides into different quality categories.
Okay, so it's like a ranking system.
It is, yeah. Like, you've got your A-grade hides,
Uh-huh.
your B-grade hides, and so on.
And that determines what they get used for ultimately.
Exactly. And the guide here, it mentions terms like wet blue and crust.
Wet blue, crust. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. What are those?
Okay, so those are stages in the leather making process.
Got it.
Wet blue is hide that's been treated to stop it from rotting.
Okay.
It's a super important step because it gives the leather that, that kind of bluish color.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So when you see like a really bright blue leather jacket or something, that's the wet blue.
Well, not exactly. It gets dyed later on. The wet blue stage is more of a processing step.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then crust comes later after the hide's been tanned and dried.
Okay.
At that point, it's starting to look and feel more like the leather we know.
So the hide graders looking at hides at all these different stages.
They are, and they have to understand how the hide's characteristics at each stage
Okay.
are going to translate to that final product.
Wow. So they're like, what, predicting the future of that hide?
You got it. They're looking at the grain, the thickness, any brands or markings.
Wow.
They even do some trimming to get those hides ready for the next stage.
So there's a physical hands-on element to this too.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about, looking at it and making a decision. They're hands-on.
Huh. And we're talking serious attention to detail here, it sounds like.
Oh, big time. This RoleCatcher guide uses phrases like meticulously compare and precise grade attribution.
Yeah.
So it's not just glancing at a hide. It's a very thorough process.
And speaking of thorough, this guide also mentions something about hide graders creating portfolios. Like, what's up with that?
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's one of the most interesting things about this. So imagine walking into a job interview with like a collection of leather samples,
Okay.
right? Each one showcasing what you can do.
So it's not just what, it's like being able to show it off.
Exactly. It's like a resume, but way cooler.
It's a portfolio, yeah.
Yeah. It's a really unique blend of technical skill, artistry,
Wow.
even a little bit of salesmanship when you think about it.
It's like you're selling your eye for leather.
Exactly.
Now, if we're talking about getting into this field,
Yeah.
what's the job market like for hide graders?
So right now it's actually pretty stable.
Okay.
But there's a big old question mark hanging over this whole profession.
Oh, let me guess. Robots.
You got it. Automation. It's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A machine, it can probably sort hides by size, maybe even weight,
Yeah.
but can it really replace that human eye?
Right, that judgment, that experience.
That's the big question.
Yeah, that's a good cliffhanger
Right.
to lead people on.
Yeah,
We'll come back to that, I'm sure.
definitely.
It really makes you wonder what happens to that human touch.
Yeah.
If robots are grading hides,
Right.
can they appreciate
Yeah.
the subtle qualities of each piece?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to end up with all our leather goods just like totally uniform and
Right.
synthetic
And
looking?
then suddenly, like, will handcrafted leather
Right.
become, like, this luxury item?
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's got that human touch.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
It's like, remember when everybody thought vinyl was dead?
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly vinyl's back?
It's back.
Because people crave that warmth, that
Yeah,
authenticity.
baby.
Leather's heading in that direction, too.
Totally. And you know what? That actually connects to something the guide mentions about specialized hide graders.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it seems like the ones who can look at a hide and say, okay, this is perfect for like high-end fashion, or this is going to make an amazing handcrafted chair.
Yeah.
Those hide graders, they're in high demand
Makes sense.
because their expertise, it goes way beyond what any machine can do.
So even with all this talk of automation,
Yeah,
there's still a need
totally.
for that human eye, that human judgment.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about those, like, niche markets
Right.
where craftsmanship is everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's say someone is listening to this right now
Yeah.
and they're thinking, hide grader, that's my calling.
Laughs. Okay.
How do you even get started in a field like this?
So I haven't found any secret societies of leather whisperers or anything like that.
Darn it.
But this guide, it really hammers home the importance of hands-on experience.
Okay, so get your hands dirty.
Yeah, like working in a tannery, even if it's an entry-level job,
Yeah.
you're around the sights, the smells.
It's got to be an experience.
Oh, for sure.
So it's more about apprenticeship than, like, formal education.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Okay.
But the guide does mention professional development courses.
Yeah.
And industry certifications are becoming more important, too.
So you're not just, like, showing up
Right.
after working in a tannery and saying, I'm a hide grader now.
Exactly.
There's some credentials involved.
Yeah, it's kind of like having that extra edge.
Especially as things change so fast.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to stay ahead of the curve.
So maybe you start with a mentor,
Right.
learning the ropes.
Yeah,
But you got to keep learning, keep those skills sharp.
you got it. And that might mean, getting up to speed on new technologies or like industry standards.
Right. Because those probably change as technology changes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about, like, the challenges, the
Yeah.
skills involved, how you even get into this field.
Right.
But before we wrap up this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
what's, like, the big takeaway?
Oh, that's a good question.
What should our listeners walk away from this conversation thinking about?
I think the biggest thing is that even with all this tech everywhere,
Yeah.
human expertise still matters.
Right,
Whether
that's-
you're a hide grader with a trained eye or, any kind of craftsperson,
Right.
people who really know their stuff and are passionate,
Yeah.
they're always going to be in demand.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, no matter how technologically advanced we get,
Right.
there's always going to be a place for humans, for that human ingenuity.
Absolutely.
It's funny.
Yeah.
We started talking about leather hides,
Right.
and now we're, like, talking about the future of craftsmanship.
I know.
It's amazing how one little topic, one little job
Totally.
can open up all these bigger questions.
It really speaks to how everything's connected,
Yeah.
Like this hide grader, this job most people have never even heard of,
Right.
but it's tied into all these big trends. Technology, automation.
Yeah, the future of work.
Exactly.
And maybe someone listening right now,
Yeah, maybe.
this is going to spark something for them.
Right.
And they'd be like, I never thought about a career like that.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
I think we've stretched this leather metaphor about as far as it'll go.
Life laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all leathered out.
So, to everyone listening, thanks for coming along on this deep dive with us
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
into the world of hide grading.
Yeah. Hide grading. Who knew?
And a big thank you to our expert
Oh, of course.
for walking us through all of this.
My pleasure.
And remember, everybody, whether you're a leather expert or you just, appreciate well-made things,
Yeah.
there's always something new to learn, always a new deep dive waiting.
Absolutely.
Until next time.